Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, today we're tackling something absolutely massive, a piece of legislation that is set to drastically change the entire landscape of retirement, healthcare, and financial security in America. We're talking about the sweeping Elder Care Protection Bill. Specifically, we're zeroing in on the newly drafted Title IV provisions that just moved through the Senate. Look, if you're over 60 or if you've got a parent or loved one who is, this affects you directly. This isn't just, some minor policy tweaking. This bill fundamentally rewrites the rules around your retirement income, the cost of your prescriptions, the safety of nursing homes, and the protection of your life savings. We're going to break down exactly what all of this actually means for you, completely free of the legal jargon and political spin. But right off the bat, I've got to hit you with a major warning straight from our source material. It says, quote, "Miss the steps and you miss the money." And honestly, it really is that simple. While this bill offers some seriously life-changing benefits under its new statutory frameworks, a lot of them are absolutely not automatic. Some require immediate, specific actions from you to claim, some have really strict deadlines, and others mean you have to update your info with federal agencies before certain windows close entirely. So, stick with me here, because by the end of this explainer, you're going to know exactly what you need to do to secure what you're legally entitled to. All right, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, a historic overhaul begins. Second, lowering healthcare and drug costs. Third, financial security and fraud protection. Fourth, upgrading housing and care standards. And finally, number 5, crucial next steps for you.
Okay, let's start with part 1. A historic overhaul begins.
For decades, let's be real, seniors across America have been quietly fighting a system that just wasn't built with them in mind. We're talking about absurdly high prescription drug prices, nursing homes operating with almost zero accountability, and this rising silent tide of elder financial fraud that's robbing hardworking folks of the savings they spent a lifetime building. These weren't just minor inconveniences, right? They were full-blown crises that lawmakers mostly ignored. Well, this once-in-a-generation overhaul finally addresses those exact struggles through specific legal mandates. We're looking at comprehensive updates under Title II for healthcare, new accessible housing mandates, and dedicated fraud prevention sections. It's the practical, real-world details on this list that we really need to unpack.
Moving right along to part 2, lowering healthcare and drug costs. Think about how crazy the old Medicare Part D rules were. The government was legally prohibited from negotiating drug prices directly with pharmaceutical companies. I mean, the largest single purchaser of prescription medication in the entire country, covering over 65 million Americans, couldn't use its massive buying power to lower prices, even though private insurance and the VA could. The result? Americans paid some of the absolute highest prices in the world. Well, the new statutory framework establishing the Medicare Drug Price Negotiation Program changes all of that. Medicare can now throw its weight around to aggressively negotiate prices on a broad list of medications, and those changes, they're taking effect a lot faster than originally planned. So, the real question is, what does this actually look like in your wallet? If you're currently dropping $200, $300, or even $500 a month on medication for things like diabetes or heart disease, there's a very strong chance those costs are about to plummet under the newly capped Part D provisions. On top of that, the bill introduces a hard ceiling on annual out-of-pocket drug costs for Medicare beneficiaries. For millions of seniors who have literally had to choose between filling a prescription and putting food on the table, capping these costs isn't just helpful, it's completely life-changing. But hey, the healthcare reforms don't just stop at the pharmacy counter. The bill also takes a swing at those dangerous gaps in original Medicare, specifically through proposed Medicare Part B expansions for dental, vision, and hearing. Untreated hearing loss is linked to dementia, and untreated gum disease is actually linked to heart disease, so these definitely aren't just vanity services. Now, while a full, comprehensive Medicare expansion is still frankly an ongoing political battle, this bill makes some really meaningful progress. It introduces new subsidies to help afford hearing aids, which we all know can cost thousands of dollars, alongside specific statutory pilot programs for dental care and expanded community vision care. All right, part 3, financial security and fraud protection. You know how every year Social Security gets that inflation bump, the COLA or cost of living adjustment? Well, the old formula used something called the CPIW. That's an index that tracked the spending of urban wage earners, meaning it factored in things like gasoline and work commuting costs. But seniors spend their money very differently, right? They spend way more on healthcare, prescription drugs, and in-home assistance, and the prices for those things rise much faster than regular goods. The new law pushes for the adoption of the CPIE, which is a senior-specific spending index. Simply put, your annual Social Security adjustment will finally reflect what your life actually costs, potentially putting hundreds of extra dollars in your pocket every single year. Now, we really need to talk about a silent epidemic in America: elder financial fraud. Older Americans are losing tens of billions of dollars every single year to scammers. This bill integrates enhanced Senior Safe Act provisions, which creates a dedicated funding stream to fight back, deploying more federal investigators and victim support. But crucially, it empowers banks and credit unions to freeze suspicious transactions. Financial institutions are now encouraged and under new federal protocols, often required to flag warning signs. We're talking sudden large withdrawals, multiple wire transfers, that sort of thing. Banks are usually the first to spot these red flags, and now they actually have the regulatory backing to step in and stop the exploitation before an account is just totally drained.
Let's shift gears to part 4, upgrading housing and care standards.
This drastic shift from zero accountability to strict mandates is honestly so overdue. In the past, nursing home fines for safety violations were so tiny they were just treated as a routine cost of doing business. Not anymore. Under new Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, regulations, fines are severe. Repeat offenders even face losing their Medicare and Medicaid funding entirely, which is essentially a business death sentence. Where staffing was often dangerously inadequate before, CMS now enforces strict minimum staffing ratios so residents actually have a human being there when they need help. And instead of just handing you some glossy, edited brochure at the front desk, nursing homes are now legally required to make their inspection reports and violation histories easily accessible to the public.
Get this. Chronic loneliness in older adults is as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's a completely staggering statistic that was highlighted directly in the research behind this legislation, and it perfectly frames why this bill invests in expanding affordable senior housing that's actually designed with accessibility and social connection in mind, because protecting physical health means protecting emotional well-being too.
But what if you just want to stay in your current home? Most people deeply want to age in place, surrounded by their memories and their neighbors. The problem is, standard homes become dangerous as mobility changes, and renovations can cost thousands. Well, the bill significantly expands funding through the new Section 504 Home Repair Program expansions. Through these enhanced grants and low-interest loan programs, eligible seniors can get financial help for practical upgrades, stuff like wheelchair ramps, walk-in showers, and wider doorways. Let's be clear, these aren't luxuries, they're basic statutory safety upgrades that keep people independent.
And there's this really powerful thought from the text. Seeking help is not weakness, it is wisdom. This addresses another vital part of the bill, mental health. The stigma around mental health can be especially strong among older generations, but dealing with grief, chronic pain, or just the fear of losing your independence, that's an incredibly heavy weight to carry alone. The bill works to break down those barriers by improving reimbursement rates for providers who see Medicare patients and by heavily expanding telehealth access. It sends a clear message: getting help to manage these emotional burdens is a wise, necessary step, and it should be accessible to absolutely everyone.
53 million. That is the estimated number of unpaid family caregivers right now in the United States. Sons, daughters, spouses, friends, people who take on the enormous responsibility of caring for an aging loved one, often while working a full-time job themselves. Historically, these folks have been left entirely without support, leading to massive, widespread caregiver burnout. Thankfully, the Elder Care Protection Bill finally steps up for the families working behind the scenes. Through the newly minted caregiver tax credit provisions, it provides tangible financial and emotional relief to help recover some of those out-of-pocket care expenses. It also funds specialized medical training so family members can safely manage complex situations at home. And it expands respite care options so caregivers can actually take a temporary break. Because a supported caregiver means a much better quality of life for the senior they're caring for.
All right, we're in the home stretch. Part 5, crucial next steps for you.
Remember what we said at the very start of this explainer? Not everything is automatic. Here is your action plan. First, visit your local Social Security office or go directly to ssa.gov to ensure your info is completely up to date. Second, book an appointment with a state health insurance assistance program Medicare counselor. This is a completely free, unbiased service designed to help you navigate these exact changes. And third, and please listen carefully to this one, hang up immediately on unsolicited callers. Scammers move incredibly fast. Within days of this legislation, con artists are going to call, text, or email you offering to help you apply for benefits in exchange for a fee or your personal info. Listen to me. Legitimate government services are always free. If someone calls demanding immediate action or your credit card, just hang up.
Look, this bill isn't some magic wand, and there are definitely still battles ahead regarding its full implementation. But it is a massive, substantial effort to make life better for older Americans. I want to leave you with this final thought. An informed public is the strongest protection. The forces that benefited from the old system, they aren't going to give up easily, which is exactly why it matters that you stay informed and actually claim your newly won rights. But it really begs the question, as our population continues to age, is this historic bill the final fix, or is it just the first step in a much larger fight for the future of American retirement? Look into the specific deadlines for your state today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.